So I believe God has been speaking to me about faith and the importance of faith. And I believe that it is something that's timely for all of us. We're going to talk about faith, what it is, the importance of it, what it looks like. So if you're interested in meditating on that with me, then just keep watching. So faith is defined in the Bible, and it's in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. And it says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." So immediately the evidence of things not seen pops out at me. And we know in our everyday, you have to have something tangible for us to consider evidence. It has to be something that we can see, that we can hear. There are other ways to determine, what qualifies as evidence, but it has to be something tangible. And faith being the substance of things hoped for, like even that substance of something hoped for, how something tangible could come from something intangible. That just kind of really blows my mind right now. The reason why it's so important is because we see in verse 6 of the same chapter, it says, "But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him." So if we are in a situation and it's bigger than us, and we're praying, you hear testimonies of that, people who may have doubted God, or may have heard about God, but then when something is just beyond them and they call out to him and he shows up, he's pleased with them because they are hoping for the result of what they're asking for, by going to him and believing that he is God and he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So reflecting on how faith works, the verse, faith without works is dead, came up as well. And in James 2:17, it says, "Even so, faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone. Yea, a man may say, Thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? Seest thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect?" So in that is giving a little bit of context about how Abraham put his faith into action, basically, when he believed that God was telling him to go sacrifice his son. And, it was, I believe, the next morning where Abraham got up and, went on that journey with his son to the place where God told him to sacrifice his son. I'll try to leave that one in the description if anybody wants to read more on that. And we'll get back to Abraham. But another thing that popped in my mind is that sometimes how I get it, I'm just hearing like phrases and thinking of things, that I've read before in the Bible, and they just pops out at me. And one of those was when Jesus said that your faith has healed you. And I believe he said it multiple times in different situations. But I immediately, looked that up. And the story that stood out to me in one of those examples is the woman with the issue of blood. We see in Mark 5, verse 25, it says, "And a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse, when she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind, and touched his garment. For she said, If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, Who touched my clothes? And his disciples said unto him, Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me? And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. My goodness. So we see that she has gone through a lot, gone to so many doctors, spent all of her money, and if anything, she was getting worse, not better. And when she heard of Jesus, the action was she came in the press behind and touched his garment, because she said to herself, If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. So with that believing that she would be healed, and her reaching out to actually touch his clothes, she felt, it says, straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. That's how much she believed on him. She didn't have to speak to him. she didn't even have to touch him, but the clothes that he was wearing. If I just touch his garment, not even him, not even his hand, nothing. Like if I just touch his garment, then I will be made whole. And it says here in verse 34, and he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. So we see that example of faith in action, but I also wanted to spend time talking about Abraham and looking at his story, because it says that he is the father of the faith.